Hey guys, what's up? I just got back from endwar and a subsequent follow-up vacation. I'm still looking through all the footage and various other things, but I figured I'd show you a bunch of blasters that I picked up right before I left, before we get into a lot of newer blasters and other modifications. So let's get started. Also, I picked up this Naptown Nerf shirt, so I thought it'd be appropriate to wear it for a thrifting video. So I think I mentioned this in other thrifting videos before, but I actually have a friend who buys and sells a bunch of Nerf blasters, usually during HVZ seasons. But he actually just graduated and did a big sell-off, so I bought some of his stuff, and then he actually was kind enough to let me just basically buy all the leftover like janky stuff that was like either broken or like had been like ghetto modded for very cheap. So I got a bunch of really cool stuff here for you today. We'll start off with some pistols. We have a, I forget what these are called, but the little, the reflex pistols. This one doesn't catch for some reason very well. It's very inconsistent. We got that in terms of Nerf. Buzzview, we have a Jaguar. This one, the clip actually you could pull out, but it's a cool little blaster. I've had one before. The springs actually make good replacement springs, but shoots pretty well. So we'll hold on to that guy. We have a Tech 6, which as far as I can tell works, you know, but it's Tech 6, so it's nothing special. Moving up from the Nerf single shots, we have two Boomco Farshots, I believe these are. They appear to be two different paint ones. I don't know if they came in like a double pack or something like that. These are the ones with the fold-out shields. So they have these little shields, which is kind of cool. I know the Boomco pistols, in terms of single shot pistols, the M6, I believe, is the one that people like rave about. I saw a bunch of it at endwar. But I'm not sure if the Farshot has similar internals. I'll have to check that out. But I know people cram like K26 springs into some of the Boomco single shot pistols and they shoot really fast. And what's cool about the Boomco darts is because it has little straw darts. It shoots differently from Nerf darts, so sometimes you can pick off zombies from a good distance because these are fairly accurate as well. And then they're just not used to dodging Boomco ammo because, you know, Nerf darts fly a certain way and you can kind of see them coming. But from how I've seen the Boomco ammo flies, it's pretty straight, so it's a little bit different in terms of dodging strategies. So I'm going to look that up later and then we'll see if we can mod these up in the future if that's the case. Up next, we have this Super Soaker Nerf crossover blaster. It's kind of funky. It's called a Total Torpedo, but basically it shoots rockets like it comes with this other one, but it also shoots demolisher rockets. I'll show you real quick. It goes like 10 feet, but it's kind of cool. It's got a missile holder that detaches from the top, and then also I believe if you stick it in water and then pull it back, you could use it as a Super Soaker. So it's kind of neat. It's something different. I haven't seen this before, but it's also very practical. So I guess it's cool. Moving our way up a bit in size, we have a strong arm here. This one is kind of funky. It looks like it was painted pretty much just with Sharpie, which might be a little hard to tell. But yeah, it's kind of neat, I guess. I'd probably just use it in an overhauled blaster. Still stock, but you know, whoever had it before me painted it, so, or I don't even know if you can call that paint. They Sharpied over all the blue with black. It's kind of funky looking. I like the color scheme. It's not very well applied, but it's a cool proof of concept. Moving on, we have a Cyclone Shock. Now, I just tore mine up actually to put the Open Flywheel Project shotgun turret in mine, which is awesome. So actually I might do that with this one as well. However, I may make it more of a primary where I want to see if I could brass one of those or modify the files so that I could brass the barrels so that they're a little more consistent, maybe throw a stronger spring in there, and then you'd have a pretty decent little sidearm going there. If you can call it a sidearm, it's pretty big and mostly wide, which is the issue because you can't really holster it. But yeah, maybe a future project. If not, this one's a little funky. I think there's something weird with the catch, but I'm gonna have to open it up and take a look. So this one's kind of cool, but we had a Gear Up Barricade. Now, I have a Gear Up Maverick actually still in the box up there, but it was kind of cool. It was a cool little short run series where basically they included Vortex discs. That's kind of how old it is, but you would have, it was before the Vortex line came out. It was sort of a cool little promotional thing. So I believe there's also a Raider and maybe one other blaster, but the Raider I haven't seen before in person, but the Barricade's pretty sweet. And actually, you know, you can still, I guess, 3D print a flywheel cage and put it in here and have it shoot elites, and it'd work pretty well. The only thing that's, I guess, a downside about the Barricade is it has no rev trigger. It's just the thumb is the on-off, and then it's just on or off all the time. Then you pull the trigger, but it's kind of a neat repaint, and I think this actually looks better than the original, so it might be cool to hold on to. Maybe we'll get it more up to speed in the future with a more current flywheel cage, maybe some new motors, and I'll probably have to put a red switch on because they would drive me crazy. Moving on, we have two of these Crossfire Bows. One of them's actually missing the bow and is broken, as you can see here. So it doesn't really work, but the blaster itself is kind of cool for integration purposes. This one's bow is a little racked, so I could probably heat bend it back, but it's probably in some kind of storage where it was, you know, jammed in somewhere. But the elastic's pretty bent out, and the bow itself's a little warped. So overall, though, I mean, this is a cool front end. I've used this on stripes before, and I've seen other people do it actually better than mine, so maybe I'll revisit the concept and use one of these for integrations. This one actually came from Endwar. It was one of the Troll and Tony loots. I didn't actually get this one. One of my friends gave it to me, but he gave it to me because it was actually broken. So he said to do something cool with it. It's actually signed by Rob. It says Thunderdome somewhere. And then, I don't know who the second person that signed it was. I haven't really looked into it. But this, I thought was a big bad, or he thought it was a big bad bow, which is why he grabbed it. But it's actually like an air zone-esque, not big bad bow. I assumed there were bow arms, because there's a broken off piece here. So I assumed there was something else that went to this. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't look it up. It actually has a marker barrel, which just shows kind of how old it is, potentially. But basically, it's kind of weird because you'd think you would pull back like a normal big bad bow on the bottom handle, and it looks like the shell actually separates, but to prime it, you have to push back on the scope up here. And this one doesn't actually catch. It is broken. You can hear what I assume the pieces of the catch are in there. So I'm going to crack this open at some point, and maybe I could always just like 3D print another catch or something. But as long as all the pieces are in there, you know, just glue it back together, measure it, and 3D print a new one. But it's kind of cool. It has a scope that goes right through the scope, obviously, but there's a little lens in there, which is kind of neat. I just think it's really funky that you would have to prime it like this. I'm so used to the big bad bow where you just pull back. And it really feels like you should be able to because of that line separation, however you can't. I have very mixed feelings whether to paint it or not because, like I said, Rob signed it. It's super, like, just ghetto looking because it has, you know, the white spray paint and all the stuff. But that's part of the Thunderdome, like, and that's what makes it cool, I guess. So I might hold on to it and just keep it painted, or not unpainted like this, but we'll probably fix it just so that it can fire in the future. Forgot to throw this in earlier, but we have a, not recon, forgot to throw this in earlier, but we have a Retaliator barrel extension and foregrip. Now these are never bad to have on hand in case you need it for a mod. Moving on, we have a barrel brick. This is actually for a friend who for some reason wants it, but they are kind of fun. Just to, you know, load the two darts. I believe they still work with Elite style darts. And then you can, you know, double shot. And actually, if you practice enough, you can do one shot into the other. But it's still pretty poor performance because it's an end strike blaster with a reverse plunger. So, okay, this one's a little strange. I don't know who painted it, but it's actually pretty well applied paint, and the paint job is, I mean, it's surrealistic for to be used anywhere, being that it doesn't have an orange tip, and it looks basically like a real gun. But it is kind of cool. It doesn't have the clip or the shells, so it's basically useless, but it's similar to the Sentinel. It's older, but primed that way. I guess it would load one of the Busby shells, and then you're good to go. Like I said, I don't have the shells or the clip, so it's pretty much useless to me, but it is pretty interesting. I'll have to figure out some use for it, because it's probably just going to end up being used for parts, because like I said, the paint job's well applied, but not suitable for outside play. Throwback to the past, we have an original Alpha Trooper. Now this one's these have sort of been outdated by the Elite Alpha Trooper being direct plunger. This one's a little funky too, it tends to just get jammed. But yeah, and then the trigger doesn't work. There we go. So it does kind of work, but like I said, it's sort of just a collector's piece at this point because of the reverse plunger really limits the power you can put into these, as opposed to an Elite Alpha Trooper. Moving into the sort of real big catches, we have not thrifted, but I got 3 of these Busby Destinies on sale at Walmart for $12.50 a piece, which I think is pretty much a steal. I did not realize how big these things were. Like, looking even, I've seen them in videos and stuff, but they're massive. Like, especially with, like, you know, the pump out all the way and stuff. It's just a much larger blaster than I anticipated. I mostly bought 3 just for the clips, maybe in case, you know, I mess up in a mod. The other 2 are still in the box right now, but it's really fun to play around with. Actually, I did look into 3D printing the clips as well, so I might do a video on that if I decide to do it in the future. But this one's just stock for now, but I'll probably end up modding it in the relatively near future. Another really sweet pickup was 2 of these AS20s. One of them is a little broken, so I'm gonna have to look on the inside, but the other one works fine. It's kind of a cool blaster. I really like the look of this and the handguard and stuff. It's pretty neat just because, you know, there's not really any other blasters that look like this. It's sort of got a very, you know, unique blocky look, which is kind of cool. Plus it's an older school blaster and it's pretty fun, you know. I mean, the Destiny pretty much does the same thing a little bit better, but it is fun to play with. The pump is massive in this thing though. And overall, I mean, it's just a fun blaster to play around with. Like I said, the one's a bit broken, so I'm going to have to play around with it because it doesn't cycle properly, but it still kind of actuates back and forth. I really like on these 2 how you can see the whole piston assembly and return spring and all that. It's sort of cool just to watch when you're shooting around with it. But another one for the older, I'm not sure if you can classify this as vintage yet, I guess it depends on who you talk to. But, you know, another one for the older collection. Okay, now to wrap this out, we got not 1, not 2, but 3 long shots. The 2 blue ones are actually really ghetto. They're kind of rusted out, and then there's, on the one, there's all sorts of, like, you know, I don't know if it's paint marks or whatever on the front, but they're kind of especially faded and well loved, let's say. You can tell in the stock too is really sort of faded on the one side, and these 2 are kind of messed up. I actually didn't buy these when I had the chance to, but I got them for free now. Or I bought all the blasters as like a bulk purchase, but I sort of got these thrown in there. Mostly because he was at one point selling like 5 or 6 long shots, so I bought 2 or 3 that had the screws still intact and weren't rusted out like those 2. So those ones are going to be a pain to open. If I ever decide to mod them, you're going to have to drill out some of the screws, and I don't really feel like doing that most days. But if I really need one in the future, I guess I could resort to that. But the big pickup too for me was the yellow long shot, because I actually don't have a yellow long shot. I have this one, a bunch of the vintage blue ones, and then, which is like the first run, and then the zombie strike one. So I have 3 out of the 5, obviously not the 2 rare ones. I don't have a crimson strike or an elite. But maybe in the future we could pick those up and sort of round out our long shot collection. But this one's actually in pretty good condition. All the screws are good. It doesn't have a front gun or its scope, unfortunately, but it still functions and it sounds fine. Isn't super faded like the other 2. So good to add this one to the collection. I'm probably going to hang it up on the wall. That might put me into the double digits for long shots, actually, being that I think three long shots I have that are Thanatos, Prism, and my first pulse rifle Strife long shot integration all don't have long shot internals in them, which kind of triggers one of my friends because he's a big fan of the pump action long shots and stuff, and I just have 3 sets of internals lying around because I gutted them and put other blasters. So yeah, I always pick up long shots. They're super iconic to me. I love this front end, using it in integrations and stuff like that. And overall, just a very iconic and fun blaster for me to use. So always will pick up more if I get the chance to, except for those other ones which are in super poor condition. So yeah, that's been a bit of a big haul, but that's pretty much everything I picked up recently. Because you guys stayed so long, I'm going to show you a quick sneak peek of some stuff that I'm working on right now. So 3 projects I really need to finish before August 5th, which is APOC, which I will almost certainly be attending, hopefully, this year. Is the Slug crossbow, which is a full 3D printed crossbow project with homemade internals. Works pretty well. The only thing I broke the pullback rod, so I need to reprint this and then just do some minor testing and tweaking and then do touch-up paint because I kind of scratched up my paint job when I went to jam this plunger tube in because it was a very tight fit. But other than that, I mean, this is almost ready. Another thing I'm working on for 2 projects is making my own 3D printed plunger head, which will go with my homemade. I have one that's sort of a very simple, like, you know, one-day build where it's meant to be done with very little tools and to be very cheap. So that'll be done hopefully first, and then once I just need to make this slightly smaller. It's a little bit of a tight fit. I want to make sure that it's just right before I release the files for this, because I want it to be, you know, repeatable, because I want to use this in multiple blasters. Then I'm also working on a sort of snap homemade. I haven't decided if I want it to be pump action or not. I'm going to sort of do my own twist with it. I'm still figuring out the details, however. Once this plunder head is done, that'll sort of be one of the main components for all those builds, so I need to finish that. But other than that, I mean, other Nerf modifications, Merger Masters 2 is coming up. I have some ideas I'm tossing around. I haven't even started with that, though. But that should be upcoming projects. But yeah, that sort of wraps up this video. As always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed and look forward to some more videos in the upcoming weeks.